Hey everyone, this is Akash from Vicetalk. Today we have Arpad from UK and he's here to explain some details about how does he look into a resume and a cover letter and how does he recruit for executive level applicants. So let's jump right in and see what his thoughts are. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Arpad, and we are very excited to hear about your thoughts from career standpoint. So I see you are a career coach and also a recruiter as well. So how did you end up into this journey? Please talk to us about your journey.
Yeah, so I started as an aviation lawyer. I'm a lawyer by background, and I transitioned from law to executive search and assessment. Which is basically, I was in a contract with my most recent law firm, and they put me in touch with one of their providers on the legal recruitment side of things, with the view of me getting another long-term legal job. That never happened, but they asked me if I would be interested in joining as a recruiter, and that's how I ended up in this space. Basically.
I see. I see. So when you as a recruiter right now, because you have a perfect overlap as a career coach as well as a recruiter. Not many people. Either usually people are just career coaches
Yeah,
or resume reviewers, or they are recruiters,
yeah.
and you are in a perfect overlap. So how do you use your experience to help people in such a way that as a recruiter you will be able to receive the applications in a right way, and as a coach you take this experience forward. How do you help people with both of your experiences combined?
So I tend to work with mid to senior level executives across all different functional specialisms, from finance managers all the way to CTOs, CFOs, CMOs. Um, Most people that I deal with are at a crossroads. They would like to make a transition from one sector to the other, or they would like to go from one location to the other. Very often, they would like to go from A to B within their own organization in terms of like a step up in their careers. What I normally help people with is really how do they position themselves, how do they brand themselves, and then make themselves relevant to the outside world, basically. So to recruiters, hiring managers from other organizations. So
Hmm. Like typically how did that happen? Because let's say I am just a job applicant in IT or a software as a just graduate, let's just say.
yeah, yeah.
So typically what I do is I take my resume and I submit in several places to see if I can get a call. So how does this differ for executive level? Because the CEOs and CFOs and CTOs, they're all from varied companies, extremely small company to a company as big as Google.
Yeah.
So how do they showcase themselves for applying to executive level jobs? How is that different
Yeah.
from any other positions?
When it comes to senior level roles, Akash, it's all about tapping into the hidden job market, having those information interviews with people, building the network. It's never about applying for a job, basically. From a certain level, it's not about going to the job sites and then having a look what's out there. It's much more about keeping your eyes and your ears on the ground for relevant opportunities, and really having a concrete plan. I think that really helps, because you really need to have a roadmap. Where am I today? Where do I want to get to? And where I normally help is basically, how are you going to do that? Basically, how do you position yourself? How do you brand yourself? As what do you want to be known to the external market? And I think a lot of people struggle with this. It's really it's not something that we are taught at school or at university. I think it's something that you really consciously need to develop and practice a lot, in terms of your pitch, in terms of how you interview, how you convince hiring managers, recruiters, that you are the one who should be hired.
I see. Well, since you mentioned job market, how does the job market look like in UK? And do you think in 2022 and 2023 it's gonna start getting worse, or what is your opinion on the job market?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the sector or the industry that you're looking at it. In certain sectors in the UK, of course, there's a huge shortage of things like transportation, driver shortages. There's an acute need for IT tech talent as well,
Mm-hmm.
digital transformation. Um, I think another area would be really to mention is anything to do with STEM subjects, of course. I mean, there's a need for engineers, there's a need for
Right.
technical talent, senior technical talent in particular. The trends, by the way, the employment trends are basically remote work is making itself at home here, at least in the UK. It seems that it's going to stuck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the candidates are knowing their worth. It's really difficult to negotiate at the moment because, of course, a lot of people are bringing
Mm-hmm.
good experience. They know that they're worth a fair amount. A lot of employees are expecting better benefits. Benefits can be not only
Mm-hmm.
monetary, but also in terms of working from home, flexibility, especially when you have kids. It really the competition for talent is such that it's really you either comply with those requests from candidates who are worth hiring or you really want to hire, or you lose them. So it's basically it's about
Right.
engaging talent, building a long-term relationship with them, and really making sure that you, even if you don't go for them, or even if they don't pick you as an employer of
Mm-hmm.
choice, you keep in contact because it's about pipelining, it's about long-term thinking, not yeah, we need 15 people and then you're just one of them. So that's
I see. Well, yeah, with specifically with the COVID vaccination status in place, a lot of things are getting very complicated. So, one of the recent things which happened is in America, the CDC decided to, or at least suggested people to have vaccination status in their resumes
yeah.
so that companies can hire people with vaccination. So, I don't know how it's there in UK, or but do you think, as a recruiter, do you think you would like to see the vaccination status of people in their resumes or their cover letters? Do you think it's important?
It really depends on the role and the sector. So if it's hospitality, if it's travel, if it's airlines, if it's aviation, shipping, maritime. I mean, of
Hmm.
course, those organizations have to comply with government rules, regulations, and some of those documents may set out that you can only hire people who have the relevant vaccinations and are double vaccinated or even have the booster. It's very
Hmm.
personal stuff.
Right.
Akash. I think it's really important to maybe just not to mention on the CV in the first place because it's at the end of the day, it's
Right.
no one's business, if you ask me.
Right.
If they would like to know, I mean, this can be discussed at the
Hmm.
interview stage. I think I would really caution anyone to really just put that out there on their CV. This is something that will play a role in certain jobs or certain sectors,
Hmm.
but it's not going to be the deciding factor as to whether someone gets the job or hope. I hope not.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great answer. It's not like a one or zero digital. Basically, you think that if it's a healthcare sector, yes, we have to provide something. If it's something like a work from home software,
Yeah,
maybe we doesn't have to provide that. So, I think you're suggesting that people can put the vaccination status depending on where they're applying for,
yeah,
than all in general. That's a really an interesting take on that,
yeah,
our part.
yeah.
So, along the same lines, when since we are talking about the resume, to the starting levels executives, because you are specific focus towards the coaching of executives and recruiting for executives. So these entry level executives, let's say, and when they are trying to showcase their skills, their experiences, when we talk about executives, I'm pretty sure it's going to be way more than 1 to 2 pages to really state the details. What is the most important thing in a career profile or a resume or a cover letter of an executive, which they have to showcase it really well, that recruiters really care about?
I think the best way to prepare a resume or a CV, depending on where you are, is to sit down with the job specification if there is one. If there's none, then pick up the phone and ask the recruiter or the hiring manager, what are you looking for? What are the certain the specific requirements for this particular role? If you don't have it, then you can't possibly tailor the CV. You know, a lot of people are trying to carpet bomb the market, basically just with the same exact CV, and then hoping that someone is going to have pity on them. Unfortunately, no one is going to have pity. I mean, the competition is such that I mean, this is a selection tool, just like the cover letter, by the way. A lot of people think about it like, is the cover letter dead? Well, no, it's alive and kicking. And the reason why it is because it's a selection tool. Can you spell? Can you do you know English grammar? I mean, there are so many different things that are basically being considered. Like, have you read the job description? Attention to detail. I mean, this is your first, essentially, the best way to think about your CV or a resume or your cover letter is your first work document that you are submitting to your future boss. So it's basically that's the sort of care and attention that needs to go into it. Recruiters, especially at senior levels, they sniff out the phony in a second, and basically they just need to see that you really actually thought about it. This is not They're not just company number 55 on your list of target organizations, but really someone who just really wants this and takes the time and the effort to put real thought into it, and through this demonstrating that you actually want to work there. That's what differentiates an average or a below average applicant, so to say, from someone who really is interested.
Wow, I think that's a lot of details from a recruiter standpoint. I'm sure the viewers and listeners are going to take help of. I think the key points you mentioned are basically, as a recruiter, what you judge is if the applicant has even read the job description,
Yeah,
and if the grammar and everything is taken care of. That means, did they do the multiple revisions of, making sure to show the seriousness of the job they're applying to. I think that's a lot of details which you're trying to acquire from a cover letter, and I think this is a good suggestions to people who are applying.
yeah.
It's executive or non-executive level. That's really great suggestions. Yeah. So I think recently you published an article in Vice Talk about the myths or mythbusters
Yeah,
of resumes. So I'm not going to talk about all of those points, but probably a couple of things which are stand out. So I think you mentioned one resume for all, and it's a myth.
yeah,
So could you give us some details about it, because most people have do this and they're really confused about this.
yeah.
So what is wrong if I just use one resume for my job applications?
So it can't be right for all the roles. I mean, obviously, the roles that you're applying, they're different. They're looking for different skill sets, looking for different experiences. And I think it's really important to really just not list all of your experience, because not all of them are going to be relevant. Be Use discretion. Use really your critical thinking in terms of, is this going to be relevant? Is this going to be useful? Will this add value to my application? So it's really thinking about the role, what is relevant, what is not, because your CV is, contrary to popular belief, Akash, it's not an invitation to tell your life story. It's a very tailored, laser sharp document which goes to the reader, and basically what you need to do in a matter of 30 seconds or less, in a lot of cases less, is to convince the reader, yeah, it's relevant, right level. They read the job description. They really made sure that only the right and relevant stuff are mentioned here. Be succinct. I would suggest you use a bullet pointed approach, where you really just highlight some of the key achievements, the stuff that you are really proud of, and highlight those. Again, a CV is just as good of a selection tool as a cover letter. It shows that you really actually thought about this and didn't just carpet bomb 15 or 20 organizations with the exact same CV document, basically. That's.
Well, I think that's a great summary of things we talked about from a recruiter standpoint and some of the career coaching standpoint. So talk to me about how your services are and how can people reach you. What services are you providing for people from career coaching, if you are doing any?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like 1% of my time is spent on the coaching side of things at the moment. To be honest with you, because there's an awful lot of searches that we are working, like active searches that we are working on at the moment, and it's the market has picked up really over the past sort of half a year or coming up to a year now, and it's but if you are at the crossroads, whether you're leaving university, whether you're a professional that has some experience and are struggling with getting from A to B, getting a promotion, you have issues with getting interviews or performing well in interviews as well. Salary negotiations is an issue as well for a lot of people that turn to me. It's the ideal client is really someone who's at a crossroads, someone who really needs to make a decision about a promotion, or is an active job seeker. I mean, I derive an awful lot of satisfaction from working with people who are in between roles, or even students who are trying to get into the job market. Basically, across many, I don't have any specialism in terms of sectors. I think it's basically from IT all the way to aerospace, engineering, law. It's basically the principles as to how you do it are very similar, are the same really. So,
I see. Well, I think we are at time now, and I'm going to ask you one last thing. Do you have a special advice to the young students who are just now graduating? So, do you have an advice for them with your combination of all experiences?
yes, do the networking while you are at college, or you're at your secondary studies, or even at secondary school level or high school level. Do these information interviews, learn about the individuals that you are trying to emulate or imitate in terms of jobs, learn a lot about them, build the network, and also make sure that you are doing a lot of internships, a lot of practical hands-on experience during your studies, because I think that's going to make the real difference as to whether you have some stuff to talk about at your during your interview or not. So it's as many of those as you can. Paid, unpaid, doesn't really matter. And also, if you can do a year in industry as well, don't worry about graduating too soon or really quick, because I think those things can really stand you out of the, make you stand out of the crowd. Basically, that would be my best bet. But conversations, building the network, and really seeking help as well from the career services of your university. I think that would be the first port of call really for anyone who's struggling. I think most of the universities, whether in Canada, US, here in the UK, most universities have a really good career services network as well. They can put you in touch with employers. Use them because they will serve you well.
I see. Well, they certainly are some great advices, Arpad. Thank you so much for your time. I think the suggestions from recruiter standpoint, the resumes and cover letters and career coaching, you talked about various things today. And I'm sure that people who are listening or watching will take advantage of these suggestions. And hopefully they find you in LinkedIn for any
Please
help
connect with me
or
on
career coaching.
LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me. Arpad Szakal. There aren't many of those on LinkedIn, so just hit me up on it. Very happy to have a conversation, give you some pointers, tips as well. So please feel free to get in touch.
Great. Absolutely appreciate your time, Arpad. Thank you so much. And good luck with your career coaching services and the recruiting services. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching this video. And please feel free to reach Arpad for his services in ViceDoc. And you can also create your resumes and cover letters in ViceDoc for job applications. So good luck and thank you.